Hey, Chanel here with another SewBit. Today, talking about something very important. Hopefully this video doesn't get too long. When you're out selecting patterns, you're like, oh, I really want to make this. But what fabric do you use, right? There are so many fabrics. I even have I have a tub of just samples that I teach in my fashion design class, and I'll have this is this kind of fabric, this is this kind of fabric, this is actually leather, but I've collected swatches for I guess since probably the 80s, so just mainly actually when I had my design studio back in the 90s, I would just keep a swatch of everything that I made, and then because you're always referring back to it. This was from a movie I did called Without a Paddle. This was, I have no idea, but it's really cool. It's like a vintage piece. This is silk chiffon. Huh. But, and then I would, actually if I'd go shopping for fabrics and they gave me swatches. This was from Mood in LA. And I know I was working on, I think this was from Without a Paddle. I would actually get swatches and I would keep them because there's so many fabrics out there. It's just, you can't just say, I want, you know, cotton. It doesn't work that way. So there's, you know, satin cottons. This is a Pima cotton, one of my favorite fabrics. There's denim cottons. There's just all kinds of fabrics. So you, as doing fashion sewing, need to know at least the basics of fabrics. And actually, I had a book here. I'll find it in a little while. But I have this sheet that I came up with one of my classes, and it's just fabric swatches. And why not just keep your own file of fabric swatches, like denim, chiffons, what it looks like, crepe de chines, charmeuses. Get an idea of what these fabrics are. Because when you go in to look at patterns, you look at this pattern and you go on to the back, it will say suggested fabrics. And I have a lot of students who are always like, what kind of fabric do I use? But you start here because the designer made this pattern and was giving suggested fabrics. It doesn't mean you have to use that one. It doesn't mean that there aren't other out there that you can't use. But you should know, like, if it says corduroy or denim, what's like the weight of, like this is a kind of denim. This is denim, but it's a very lightweight denim. Then I had this swatch of a denim right here. There's heavier denims. I mean, denim comes in all different weights. So like if it suggested that, maybe there's a fabric it didn't suggest that is similar to this that would still work. Like here's another denim right here, just different colors. They have black denim and they have embroidered denim. I haven't actually just bought a beautiful piece like that. This one also says twill. Actually, this is a twill right here. Twill is the type of weave of a fabric, but it's also like, this would be like in the bottom weights section of a fabric store. So twill is actually the weave. It has like a line that goes across it. And the twill is, it's like a diagonal weave, the way they weave it. They don't weave it diagonally, it's woven a certain, sometimes they'll go up a thread, down 3, up a thread, down 3, and it creates this line. It's how they also make satin weave too. But these are, twill weaves were designed for ruggability. I might have just made that word up. They use a lot of denims are in twills, canvases, things like that, so they're actually tougher weave. They're harder to tear and harder to fray out, kind of thing, you know. So they might, like Carhartt Fabrics, or like that company who makes durable cottons, fabrics, use twill weaves. Anyway, where were we? So this also says satin, shantung, velvet, linen. So what are those? So you got satins. This happens to be a beautiful silk satin. Satins are crispy, and these are actually a weave too. They're actually all different fibers. You'll have a poly satin, you'll have a silk satin, but it's also the way they weave fabrics. That's a satin. And it also said linen types. So this is a linen right here. You can get these in real thin fabrics, like thin weights, or heavier weights. This is probably of a medium, but beautiful tight woven fabric. Then I think it said shantung in there. These are, I always get shantungs and dupionis confused, but this is a silk shantung. It's kind of papery. It's got a, I think they call this one the shantung, and then the dupioni, is more, it's got slugs in it. This is a silk, it's like a raw silk basically, but there's actually a raw silk fabric out there too, which I don't have here. But so if it says shantungs, that's a little more on the crispy side. So they're looking for real, jacket weights. It also said corduroy. This is a type of corduroy. They have wide wale corduroys, these little thin stripes in here, or I say it's a grain there. This is a pinwale, so it's very thin and soft. I love this fabric. Real good classic. Then they'll have a wider wale. They have like wide wale, all different kinds. They also, I had a good piece of fabric here with a wide wale corduroy. It had like a little herringbone print in it somehow, and one of my students made it and took it home. But this is like a taffeta, so crispy. They'll come in silk taffeta, poly taffeta. The silk and the poly, those are the fiber contents, and then the taffeta is the type of fabric. So different worlds on there. Then there's, I think they also had said like chenilles, brocades. Think of like Chanel jackets, and that's actually, they didn't mention it too much here, but if you look at the picture, that's what those are. So looking at the suggested fabrics on there. Now, if I looked at this one right here, this is a suggested fabrics here. It says sized for stretch knits only, such as cotton interlocks, jerseys, lightweight double knits. You're like, what is that? Stretch velvet, two-way stretch, novelty knit fabrics, that kind of thing. So it says the knits on here, but on the pant right here, it said D and E, because that's the, if you look at the D and the E, that's the pant. It said flannel, laundered cottons, baby cord. Like this could also be called baby cord, silk, rayons, linen blends. So their pant, they're saying it's also built, you could do a woven fabric, because laundered cottons are a woven fabric, baby cord's woven, chambray is woven. But the knits, what they're talking about is like, this is a stretch velvet. So it has like a little, I wonder if they, don't think they make these in silk velvet, but they're but a nice little stretch velvet. Then you have just different weights of knits. So a knit is an interlock weave, and it's stretches. They actually, some patterns are designed for stretch, and they're actually cut a little smaller because you stretch them and put them on. And then also maybe they don't have zippers because you don't need a zipper to put on a knit. Here's another kind of knit. So it's going to have, it could have a two-way stretch, it could have a four-way stretch. This does not have a four-way stretch. That's when it goes both ways. I don't know if they're harder or easier to work with. I don't know. This is like a stretch velvet velour kind of thing. It's like a crushed velour, I think it's called. And it stretches, this does stretch both ways. Usually the cross grain on it will stretch a little bit more, but that would be a good stretch knit in there. Then it had talked about flannel. So flannel is a great fabric to work on if you're a beginner, because it's kind of sticks to itself. Just a woven fabric. It has a nice little soft side to it, like that. Laundered cottons, I believe it said. So this is like a nice soft cotton. When it's saying laundered cotton, I think it's saying it kind of has a softer feel, because some cottons are like real crispy. This is a cotton right here, printed cotton. So and it's soft, so you just have to really feel it. That's why it's so hard to shop online. You have to feel them like that. This is a laundered silk charmeuse, and silk charmeuse. The charmeuse is, I'll show you what charmeuse looks like. I don't know if I have the, this is silk charmeuse before it's laundered here. And then it gets like, so it's got like a crepey back and a shiny front. It has a beautiful drape to it. Make great PJ pants. Makes evening gowns out of it. And this is when you launder it. This has probably actually been specifically like stone washed, they'll call it. It dulls the finish and makes it just feel a little, it feels gummier, which is, it's just good feeling, but because it comes from a silkworm, which has a gummy feel already, so it's kind of cool like that. But so it's asking for silk charmeuses or silk types. You're going to think about silky types. You could also do like silky type polyesters. This is a polyester. A lot of people think this is a silk kind of thing. You can actually do a burn test on fabrics, and if it beads up, it means it's got man-made fabrics and it's polyester. Poly comes kind of from plastic. It's a thermoplastic, it's called. We used to do burning of little swatches of fabric in our fabric swatch classes. So learn all about how a fabric, what the fibers are in it by doing burn tests. I'll have to do that on a SewBit. Then I have, like this pattern here is like a evening dress. It says damask sateen. Sateen could be like a like this is a silk satin, and then sateen might be like this fabric here. It's got a gloss to it, but it's cotton right here, like a sateen. It has a beautiful gloss to it. Sometimes they're like pretty crispy. Silk satins, silk satin, and this would be beautiful. Then it's called crepeback satin. I had a swatch of that here. Crepeback satin used to be one of my favorite fabrics to work with. It's probably, you can't, it has a funny feel to it. It's got a real satiny front, and on the back, it's very crepey, and it's kind of, you can even hear it. It's a little on the rougher side. It's the crepe is the way it's woven, and the threads are tightly spun and then woven, and they're kind of crinkly, but it has a beautiful drape to it. And this fabric, a silk crepe, could be expensive. A lot of these, like these silk satins, are in the $50 a yard range, and the crepeback satins, I remember buying a lot of those, and they were in that range. Here's a double Georgette. It's a silk chiffon. This actually had stretch to it, which was, this was a rare find. I found it in LA. I made my friend's wedding gown out of it. She had a lavender gown, and I searched high and low and found this fabric at F&S Fabrics, and it was this bolt that they just had it somewhere and they didn't know where it came from, and then I bought the whole bolt. This is a, they also say, what were they saying, launder, or like a cotton satin, or I don't know, I saw it on one of the ends, but it's like a cotton and silk blend. So it's kind of like, looks like a woven, just like a woven cotton, but it has a nice shine to it, and it just has a good feel to it. So that kind of thing. Then we have, they'll also say all different kinds of wools. So a lot of people think of wool as just like this thick, itchy fabric, but this is like a cashmere wool, soft and thin, all different degrees of wools. They have different weights, different blends. If you take 100% wool, a lot of times it'll be softer and more luxurious. If you put blends in them, like a poly or acrylic, that's when you get a little more crispier and itchier kind of thing. So wools can actually be very beautiful. Then, real quickly, I have like this fabric here, or this pattern. So I know there's like a lot of cosplay and unique stuff. This one said low pile fur, velvet, velveteens, brocades. So you can get like these fake furs are real good to work with, and just a woven fabric here. Then there's also like low pile. This, I don't know if this is low pile. Pile means the it's the fabric that stands up on it, crushes really easy. So you can actually get fake furs. This is a stretch like velour. So that actually makes pretty cool fabrics, and there's the back side of it. And then also a fleece. this is, I love this fleece. It's, a lot of them are pretty cheesy feeling, but this one has, I made like a head wrap on this one, but has a little bit of stretch in it, but that one felt really good. That's the back side of it. So there are tons of fabrics out there. So you just got to kind of get to know the basics, and then like when they're saying suggested fabrics, if it says that, maybe there's something similar to it, and then really just get to know your fabric, because you might find a great pattern and you put it in the whole wrong fabric and you've wasted your time. It's sort of like also doing the wrong size on a pattern. I hope you watched that video where it says get the right size. So the more you sew, the more fabric choices you're using and trying different fabrics out. That's always fun. The better and better you get at it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next SewBit.